Hello, welcome to this new episode of the Alex Show TV. And as you can see, we have a guest, and I'm very honored and happy today to have Peter Panagore from the United States. Thank you, Peter, for being here.
Alex, nice to have you in my little studio with me this morning, and I'm super glad to be in Mexico with you.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you. And for the viewers, the followers, you know that I said on a show that I was going to try to get Peter on the show, and I'm very happy that Peter accepted my invitation. As you know from that show that I had, the commentary show on your experience, Peter had what is called an NDE, a near-death experience. And that's probably not the point, because I think there's a lot of focus on that and what happens in the tunnel. But the beautiful part is that Peter had this experience of feeling the pure love of the Creator, feeling that connection to the creation that we all have. We're all part of the same thing. So, Peter, we were talking before recording, and I would like to start with this question of when you pass, when you transcend, how there's always going to be fear, but it's from the body, it's from the physical part. And there's always going to be peace from the spirit, which knows perfectly what's going on. So if you don't mind, can you explain us what exactly goes on in that moment of transcending and living this reality?
Beauty, relief, calm, presence. I had been ice climbing, as you know, and I had a terrifying night of trauma. And in the end, I surrendered. I realized I wasn't going to get away from the situation I was in, and I was going to die. I relaxed. I had this tunnel vision, and I expected to fall asleep, but instead of falling asleep, I awoke, and I awoke without pain and without suffering. I was still sort of attached to my body, but I was also outside of it. I still had a relationship with it, but I was relieved of all of my suffering. And the instant that I died, I was confused. I didn't understand what was going on, but I was not frightened at all. Zero fright.
Okay. So in that moment, that's when you experience this. You mention it all the time at the same time. It's like all your lives all together, and this extreme peace and this extreme love, which I believe what you went through, we all have been through, but we just don't remember. Okay.
Right.
So if you don't mind, could you, I know you have said it a few times on different shows, but could you briefly just go on that, trying to describe this undescribable experience of being there with the Creator?
I became what I originally was. I no longer had a physical body. I didn't have a brain. I wasn't attached to those. I was an energetic orb of my own, of consciousness, that my thought was my being, my action was my being. There was no separation between my thought and myself. I was in this vast darkness that was simultaneously illuminated, and it was no thingness. I was not a thing. Like we talk about molecules and particles. I wasn't a molecule or a particle. I was an energy form of consciousness, completely different from anything I'd experienced here. And I was alone in this vast distance, but I was in contentment and in self-knowledge of my own original being. No fear. All suffering had ended. There were many components to my experience. One of them was timelessness. There was all time and no time. It was this space of eternal now. I understood the origins of myself. And when I say that, I mean I had this part of me that was like a photonic self that was entangled with a field of photons, and the field of photons was the divine being itself. And I was one of the photons, and all of the photons were all entangled with each other, but they were all also somehow separate as well. They were their own beingness, but they were also oneness. So that was one aspect of it. There was another aspect of it where I was inflated with all of these things that we talk about separately: intellect, knowledge, understanding, truth, joy, bliss, paradise, beauty, love, light, awe, devotion, adoration. They were all one essence, and they infilled me and inflated me to this edge where I was nearly enfolded back into the uncreated, unmanifested, original divine being. So I was almost fully enfolded in it. But if I had been, then I would have ceased to exist separately. My photonic self would have been absorbed back into the field. And then I saw this an experience. When I say I saw, I was shown an experience. Seeing was the experience. I was shown my soul level self. So there's this other part of me that's sort of lower down. It's all one. So to talk about levels is a little disingenuous, but I don't know how else to describe it. There was this lower level self of me, this soul that came out of this greater darkness that was infinity itself, into which I could not penetrate. Had I had this one more drop of the divine being entered into my inflated self, I would have folded back into this greater darkness, the original origin of all being, which is all life. And I saw and experienced this part of myself that was a soul. And this soul part of me was eons and eons old. And much of it, if I were to like stretch my arm out and say, well, this much of it, this length of my arm to my fingertip, my fingertip was the emanating part out of the darkness, and this part of me was empty. There was only my soulness, and then across my chest and out to the other tip of my finger, there were all these. It was like this long tube, and inside of this long tube, starting at a certain location, there were all these lives, and many, many, many lives that were simultaneously in existence, even though I knew that there was a chronology to them. There was a first one and a last one. And the last one was the one I had just left. And they were all like these little pearls, all these little pearl worlds of existence that were inside my soul, but also somehow projecting out into another world, like um, I don't know if they were like kebab spears with grapes on the end, and the kebab spear was shoved through a loaf of bread, and it was sticking out, and there's a grape on the end of it, and but somehow the spear and the grape are also the bread. I had all these lives that were connected to this oversoul, and this and on all these worlds, I was alive in them. They were, but it wasn't Peter in every one of them. It was all of these other incarnations, and what was consistent in all of them was my soul, and they were all simultaneous. And so from this higher place, I had been inflated, and then I was had this experience of this photonic particle self in this field, connected to this field, and down below me was this long tube of my soul life, and I entered into two of the lives. I was curious, and so I was carried down, and I entered into two of these lives. And in this first life, I entered into sort of I don't know, where my bone right here is on the scale of my body, that I was a human being, and I kind of popped into this guy's body, and this guy felt to me to be Middle Eastern, and I could see my dusty, dirty toenails and my sandals, and I was inside of this guy's life, and I could hear this language being spoken that I understood, and I could see I was walking on a roadway, a dusty roadway, and there was kind of squat houses, one-story houses, and some were shops, and there was like a person with a donkey and a cart, and there were palm trees, and it seemed to be a thoroughfare, like people were going this way and that way. Had places to go and people to meet, kind of thing. And I was walking with this crowd of men. They were all men, and there was this conversation going on in this ancient language that I understood, and I was sort of in the front of the group, and I was listening to the conversation as we walked, and then they asked me a question, and one guy asked, another guy asked the same kind of question, and as I turned and I began to speak and respond, I was pulled out of that body, popped right back out again. And I had this impression that he was still there, but I was the dominant consciousness in that space. Like my soul was somehow, this higher part of myself was more apparent to me than it was to him. And then I was pulled out, and then I was popped into a life further down the line here, closer to the origin of the soul self. And I was stuck in some kind of animal, like a lizardy thing with a tiny little brain.
Okay.
And I felt like I was hiding in a shadow of a leaf, but my eyes were different. And so the physical aspect of my eye, I was seeing different light, and I was seeing different shapes and different forms. And I knew that I was afraid. I knew that I was hiding from some kind of predator. I don't know where I was. I was, except for that I was in foliage, in the shadow, staying perfectly still. And then I was pulled out. And then I could still see all of these lives that I had lived and that were still in this timeless space. I was still inside of them. And there was the life I had just left, sort of at the end of this long tube of myself. And after that, I was swept across this vast space and shown our universe, kind of like poking part of me into our universe through this field of, like, I consider it like the Higgs boson field, where energy becomes matter. If you follow physics at all, there's this space where there's this elusive Higgs boson particle that they're trying to find at the CERN super collider that they theorize is a field where energy becomes matter. And I sort of poked through this energy field into the matter of our universe, with a dominant aspect of me, the majority of me, 99.999% of me, still in this timeless space. And I could see all of our universe, and I could see the deep darkness, this infinite greater darkness, pouring out light from itself, manifesting this light from itself that was woven into the physical structure of all of the galaxies, the 10 quadrillion galaxies in this square photograph that the James Webb Telescope had taken recently, that all of the septillion galaxies, the light is woven inside. And then my attention was brought to Earth, and I could see the same light, the same speck of living light inside of every human being. And when I was seeing this immensity of space of our universe, and the heaven I was still inside of, and the greater darkness, which was kicking out all of these other universes, like rapidly, universe, our universe is steady, universe, and all of that collected into a singular experience of infinite love, of unconditional love that was aimed directly and fully at me, as if I was the most particularly beloved creature in all of the universe and all of the universes and all of heaven. This massive amount of love became unique to me, and simultaneously, and I know that this is the misuse of the word unique, it was also uniquely the same in every single human being I could see, that every one of us was the particular beloved. And I know that's contradictory, but I don't know how else to talk about it. And this immensity of love totally, when I came back, I chose to come back. When I came back, completely transformed me and my life situation, in that this state of union, this entanglement in the union with the oneness, became the dominant feature of my experience in life, and the driving force, having left it and lost 99% of it and left with this thimbleful of it. This thimbleful became the most precious aspect of my pursuit and relationship. Pursuit of it in relationship to it, that all I want is my beloved. And before we came on camera here, we were talking about romantic love, and you said, you understand love. You're a dad, you're a spouse, you're a son. Me too. All of those things, and I love my kids and my wife and my granddaughter and my parents and my friends. But the danger in that is equating romantic love or filial love with this immense unconditional love, which incorporates beauty and truth and knowledge and understanding, joy, hope, relief, end of suffering, wholeness, wellness. It is so much bigger than that single word contains, and available to every one of us, because it is what we are and the core of our being. Even though it's veiled.
That's beautiful, Peter. That was amazing listening to you. And yes, we're talking before starting that I get all the time that love, for example, love for you, especially for your children, your spouse, that kind of love. Yes, your friends, everything. Love for humanity. It's not that it's less than, but it's just different. The love of the Creator is the pure energy of the universe, the powers of the universe. So it's something amazing, and I haven't had a near-death experience. There was a moment I was about to die in the sea. I went into open sea, and I thought I'm a good swimmer that I know now that I'm not. So I went into open sea, and I had problems coming back in Cabo San Lucas, Mexico, which is very deep sea. So the water was throwing me back to open sea. And yes, there was a moment I felt I was going to die, and what drove me to keep going, to keep swimming, was my children. They were very young at the time. And I said, I cannot leave them right now. I cannot leave them. But I was at peace in a way that, if this is it, okay. I always had this feeling for death. And I'm preparing kind of the next question. Always have this feeling for death that is something we need to be at peace with. We cannot, first of all, in this lifetime, it's inevitable. I mean, at the most, we're going to go 100, 120. So why? You're not going to go 500 anyway. So why do you think, Peter, this is the question, there is so much fear of that? Because I think it's just lack lack of attachment to your inner self, which is, as you say, is here. We have a light here that connects us to the Creator. It's always there, and it's available for everyone. And in a way, for me, it came by also by asking, hey, who am I? Tell me, I want to know. Who am I? Where do I come from? What do you want from me here? What should I do? And all the answers started coming slowly. I don't get any voices in my head or anything like that. I know for some people it works that way, but the answers started coming. I will wake up in the morning and I will know the answer. So why do you think, Peter, there is so much fear of the physical passing, which is just a passing? It's just, as you say, it's just an experience. We're going to have another one and another one and another one. Why do you think that is?
Well, we forget that we've died before. Under in the veil here, the way that the brain works with an egoic self, it needs to stay alive. When I was climbing that night, trying to get off this cliff, my brain made a shift. I'd taken my fear of the unknown, because I didn't, I had mystical experiences as a kid. I had faith. I'd gone to church, but I didn't know what was on the other side. And so I was terrified. So I compartmentalized my fear and I drove myself forward. But there was this point at which my brain made this switch. It was like a switch went off, click. And when that switch went off, a deep part of my DNA way back in the early hominid period, when I was a creature stomping out of Africa headed up to Europe, or before that, when I was a dinosaur, inside of the brain, there was this survival. They call it instinct, a survival instinct, but it wasn't like it was like my body took over for my survival. I no longer had to force my compartmentalization of my terror. It was just compartmentalized. I didn't have to use my willpower to drive myself forward. There was this animalistic aspect to me that desired my own survivability. And that body thing is with a fear of death. My body was afraid of dying, not just my brain, not just my egoic self. My body itself did not want to die. My body wanted to survive. And I think that those things, the egoic mind, the not knowing of what's on the other side for most people, and the physical desire to stay alive that the body has, I think it presents a very strong barrier to self-consideration of what happens after. And as a kid, I'd been out of my body before, plucked out. So I knew that I wasn't my physical form. It wasn't my first journey. It's just that this time I knew that I was dying. And the dying was going to be the loss of myself. And before I died, I surrendered to the process. So I had this switch that had gone off inside myself. I got stuck further on in the journey trying to get off this cliff, and I accepted my situation. And very similar to you out in the ocean, it was just the way it was. I was either going to live or I was going to die. And my terror was gone, and I had this peace settle over me, and acceptance of where I was. And I spent a good part of my career as a church pastor in a liberal progressive church in New England, Northeast United States. And I attended many deaths. And in some of these deaths, people were terrified of dying. And then in others of these deaths, people, as they went through their cancer, and they came to accept their situation, their fear evolved away from them. And their family, their family was not in the situation they were in. And so their family was still afraid of their dying. But the person, I'm thinking of 2 or 3 people, they accepted their situation as the inevitable aspect of what it is to be alive. They had this spiritual transformation of their mind. And it's totally understandable why people are afraid of dying, because dying can be terrible. I mean, truthfully, dying can be very difficult. It can last a long time. It can last years, and it can be terrifying because you're stuck in your body. So I personally, I'm hoping to go out quick next time, and don't have to go through that kind of stuff, because that can be very difficult. But dying is not death. Dying is a process of the physical life. And in the moments before I died, peace settled upon me. And in the moments after I died, peace became who I was. And no longer was there fear. It wasn't like my fear was, I have an eraser right here. No longer was my fear erased. It didn't exist. It hadn't ever existed for me. It was like in Star Trek when they shoot the phaser and the bad guy demolecularizes as if he had never existed. It was like my fear had never existed. And And I understand why it's fearful for people. I one of the after effects for me, not only was this my beloved became the focus of my life with a capital B, beloved. I lost all of my fear of death. I mean, I don't like to get hurt. Okay, I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to suffer.
Mhm.
But I am totally not afraid of dying. And I would tell my wife this. And after I came out of the NDE closet, I would tell my kids this, which caused its own sort of problem with my kids. Dad doesn't love us. He wants to die. Nah, it's not quite like that, but I'm not afraid of death. And I died again in 2015 of a heart attack. And it was one of the best days of my life because I knew I've always known where I'm from. I know who I am and I know where I'm going. I'm not this physical form. We talked about reincarnation. I'm not, this is where I live. This is a rental unit. This is a condo on the beach that I'm staying in. And sometimes there's hurricanes and sometimes there are floods and some days are great and there's sunshine and beaches, but it's not mine. It's a temporary living space. And so as I died the second time, I was excited to go home, even though the heart attack really hurt.
Yes, so much there. I understand perfectly when you say about suffering because in this physical life, suffering, as you say, is something that the body suffers. So, for example, just to make an analogy with me, I've said many times I renounce violence completely, even in self-defense, but I'm still a human. Okay? I'm still a body. Yes, it's a rental, as you say. I perfectly understand what you're saying. And as you were saying about the condo, I was thinking, and you're going to leave the condo someday. Okay. You have the condo and you're going to leave it someday, and that's fine with it. You understand it, and that's fine with it. But what I will always say, for example, if they get one of my kids, I have two boys, and they threaten them, of course I'm going to accept violence again, and I'm going to defend them. Or they push me in pain, they take my, I don't know, they cut a finger or something. Of course, I'm still a human. And what you said is it's wonderful. The day you had the heart attack in 2015, and you say it's one of your best days because you were really accepting it, that you knew what was going on. And I wish for everyone that they could know, okay? In my case, it came differently, and it's not as a profound experience as yours, but it came through knowledge of my previous lives because I asked for it. So I went for it, and through different techniques that they are real and they work, such as hypnotic regression and another one, which is spiritual response therapy. Both have worked for me. Both different therapies, both same information. So how they communicate? Some say maybe you created, it's a mental illusion. I'm open to that. But the violence thing came to me as I saw a previous life, which I was a killer. Okay? Basically that, I was a killer. So I knew, and the beginning was rejection, saying, no, that's impossible, that's not true. And then it came, yes, I was that. And I felt the pain. Something you said in your video came to me, and I could feel it with you when you said, I felt all the pain I caused. When in that experience, I felt it.
Yep.
Some ask me, do you see like a movie? Do you see images? Do you hear noises? And I say, the best way to explain it is I felt who I was in that life. And I felt the pain I caused, and I caused much pain in that life. So for me, it was what I believe is true, is what the concept that is known as karma and everything, that is understanding this pain, self-judging yourself, self-judgment, very important. And then promising, hey, creation, hey, creator, I know better. Okay, I'm gonna try to be better. But as I say, we're still humans. So
well,
yeah, go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to pick up on what you said
Yes.
about violence. I'm in the same situation. I'm a practitioner of nonviolence, but I've been under real threat. I've had bad people threaten my life and family, and twice because of my ministry work, and involved the police and the law, the judges, and it's been pretty real. So I've had to prepare for defense of my family, but I'm in my heart, I don't want to hurt anybody because I know that the hurt I cause somebody else comes back to me. It's the pain I give away in life is the pain I carry back with me, or I carried two things back into heaven. I carried all the love that had been given to me in my life and all the love I had given away, and I carried the shame of all of the pain that I had caused in my life. And in my life review, I had to feel all of the pain that I gave away in order to be freed of it by accepting this unconditional, infinite love that was a tidal wave of light, that it was irresistible. It wasn't like I could reject it. I suppose I could have, but it was so immense in comparison to my tiny little shame and self-judgment that accepting it was easy, simple. On the other side, there's so much love that it became who I am.
Yes, I understand perfectly what you're saying. We're love, Peter. I truly believe we're all love. And if you're watching in a prison, someone watching in a prison, I know it's hard maybe in a prison, but someone that felt that has done very bad in this life, you are love. And you're gonna get a chance to self-judge, and you're gonna feel the pain you have created. And same as Peter is saying, we're gonna go on, okay? Having said that, it's not that I'm encouraging we go and hurt others, okay? It's not that, it's actually the opposite. But we also sometimes, especially with criminals, with people, we tend to judge when really the process is self-judge. It's we all are part of the creator, we are all part of this beautiful oneness, and we all deserve second chances. I know I've had my second chances, third chances, fourth chances, fifth chances, so we all deserve to be here. And I was gonna also ask you, Peter, in your video, you mentioned something that resonated incredibly with me. How difficult is this reality? That there's some level of understanding that the way sometimes we do things in this reality, like you just explained, we both have renounced violence, but if someone threatens my family, I'm gonna be violent. So I cannot put it in words because you explained it beautifully in the video, how this reality is not that we get a free pass, I wanna clarify, but there's a level of understanding how difficult it is. If you could explain that, please.
Sure. When I went through my life review, during my life review, which involved entering back into all of experiencing all of the pain that I gave away in my life, from the point of view of the people who experienced the pain, the people I gave it to, while I was going through that self-judgment, this comparison of my own smallness and my shame compared to this unlimited, infinite, overwhelming welcome of love and mercy, that was. And it was this comparison of this immensity that allowed me to feel the shame in the presence of this purity of love. As I came to understand that I had made these choices to cause this pain to these people, I was shown more than that. It wasn't just that I proclaimed myself guilty. I was part of the structure of not just humanity, but all of the universe, which I didn't create. I was in a system. I was dying and leaving a system of limited form. And this limited form naturally had this aspect to it of self-consumption. And so I was just reading yesterday about, in the center of our galaxy is a supermassive black hole, and it's eating it's eating a star system. And it's consuming this star system. Everything eats something else here. Everything causes pain somehow or other to something else, whether it was during the pandemic and people were dying. People were dying. I know people who died during the pandemic or got so sick that they almost died. And there's this little tiny microbe that it was just doing its thing, eating us. And it's not guilty for doing that. It's part of the structure of the whole system, from microbial to massive black hole. The whole place is limited, and it wouldn't exist without this limitation. And this limitation, my humanity is tucked inside of this universal size limitation, compared to this unlimited form. This unlimited form has no there's nothing broken in the unlimited. The only place that there's something broken is here. And as I was going through this experience of shame and self-judgment, I saw this radical equality of all of the universe, but in particular of all of humanity. And I talk about it as if I was standing on the moon. There's this famous photo from the 60s of the Earth from the moon, and the Earth looks like a round billiard ball. And of course now we have all these other photographs, but from the moon perspective, you can't see the mountain peaks or the valleys. It's all this smooth, like a billiard ball. There was this smoothness between the all of humanity in comparison to this infinity, that I was radically equal to all of the criminals. I was radically equal to all of the warriors, all of the murderers, all of the beautiful saints. I was the same as them because I was in this limited form, and that because the whole universe is structured this way, it wasn't my fault. I made these choices, caused these people pain, but I was also caught in the structure of this limited form that everything's inside of. It's like I don't want to get into the whole, the universe we're inside of a macro computer and everything is code, but it's metaphorically, that's what it's like. I didn't write the code. I'm just some lines of code, and I'm following along with the way the thing is structured. And so part of my being accepted in mercy and forgiveness was the divine's understanding that I am creature. I am creature made by creator, and I didn't make myself. And nobody else did, and the universe didn't either. Everything is imbued with the presence of the divine. Everything is this little tiny bit of God as well. But I didn't write the code, and so the forgiveness, the availability of forgiveness, was merely a matter of my acceptance of it, because I'm creature. I didn't make me. And this vindictive idea from the vindictive God who is jealous and angry sounds a lot to me like the abusive father who says to the wife or the child, "You must love me the way that I want to be loved, or I will torture you." That is not on the other side at all. There is none of that. There is the only torture that I experienced was the one I created for myself. And even though I carried these shameful acts with me across the divide, I was beloved. Even when I had them, I was still beloved. I was still being shown mercy and welcome. It is so hard here for us to, and I'm not advocating violence, and I'm not advocating treating people poorly, but it's so hard to understand here that forgiveness and mercy is so much greater than us, so infinitely larger than we are. And I felt like my listening to the love allowed me entrance into the love. And when I stopped looking at my selfish shame, when I started listening to the divine light, then all of that just went away. And I had this immense healing and wellness. And that came back with me. This little tiny bit of it came back with me, enough of a remembrance of it. It doesn't fit inside my brain, but there's enough of it inside my brain that I know the most important thing is my connectedness to the love that makes all love. And so we were talking about, filial love and friendship love, and that those are aspects of the divine love. And so the little parts of it, the little broken off part here, a little broken off part there, there's something so much bigger than that is existent inside of not just inside of every human, inside of every animal and tree and rock and molecule of water. There is nothing that exists without it. And it is access to that, creating the space to access that, is where this peace can be found on earth, even in the midst of all of the turmoil of living. And I suffer like everybody else. Step on my toe and it hurts, and give me a bloody nose and I bleed. It doesn't stop that, but it gives me this constant eternal perspective of my own wellness of being, which creates a way of living in the world that is, well, detached from my own life.
Yes, that's beautiful. Again, thank you, Peter. As you were saying, I wanna just give a few comments on what you just said. As you were saying that, for example, I'm completely sure if a criminal transcends today, he's gonna feel the same love from the Father and the same mercy, and not this notion we have that we have I like to call him my creator or father or creator instead of God, because I think God implicates a little bit of adoration, a little bit of worshiping that he doesn't need. He doesn't get upset with that, but trust me, he doesn't need that. It's in the pure love, there's no adoration. We're at the same level of the creator. And as a beautiful father, he loves us. As you say, an abusive father is the one that, yes, you have Either you adorate me or you're going to be in trouble. Either you follow me or you're going to be in trouble. Either you do what I say or you're going to be in trouble. And then if you do something wrong, I'm going to, reprehend you or whatever word. I believe the Creator lets us self-judge and kind of in an honor code system or something like that, so everyone understands what I'm saying, lets us decide and feel the pain and change within our own will. And I'm completely sure we're all going to evolve. We're all going to evolve and become these beautiful lights. So for me, if you are the worst, if you think you are the worst human being in the planet, you're fine, because you are gonna eventually reach that level, feel that love, change, evolve. So we really shouldn't judge anyone, just ourselves. And understand that we're equally loved by the Father, we're equally given this beautiful mercy and understanding, and we have a beautiful Father that, but also in the same token, because he doesn't punish you, also he doesn't pick favorites, I believe. That's also a thing I see. Some religions that say, hey, we are the chosen ones and that. Why are you and not a child in Africa? Why? Because he maybe doesn't know about your religion, he's going to be punished. That sounds to me, I don't know, a little bit strange. I don't want to judge, but it sounds to me a little bit a God that would pick favorites. I don't know about that.
You could expand that idea to the
yes,
size of
please.
the universe and interplanetary travel and life on other planets. Jesus never would show up on another planet as a human being with human DNA because it doesn't exist there. And so is it only just going to be not only the particular religion on Earth and not the kid in Africa, but everybody else in the whole universe? That's crazy.
Yes, it is, Peter. There's another question I'm trying to get from my mind that I wanted to ask you. But basically, oh yes, I remember now. You mentioned on your interview that I made a video of, that the concept of faith versus knowing. Some people say the same thing. Hey, I have faith in Jesus Christ, I have faith in God. But there's a different thing of knowing that the Creator exists, loves you, doesn't judge you, doesn't punish you, and loves you with this profound, beyond our understanding love. And comparing to a leap of faith of saying, hey, I believe this. And sometimes, let's be honest here, especially people as they get older, I believe, I've seen it in my close circle, that they say, hey, I better get okay with Christ and God, because, I'm kind of getting to a point that I'm going to make the jump and, better be in better terms with that. And for me, it's very sad, that position, because it's beautiful for everyone watching to understand that the Creator exists. It's not that you have to believe in. As you say, with a glass of water, and you said, I know this glass and this water exists. I don't have to have faith on it. I know it exists. So if you don't mind explaining that different concept of the leap of faith of religions contrary to knowing your Creator.
Well, belief is this idea where you accept an idea that you can't prove. And as you mentioned, the glass of water, I don't have to prove this existence to you because you can see it for yourself and touch it with your hand. And then when you do that, you know that it's real. But if I tell you on my desk, I've got a purple glass filled with wine, you'd have to take my word for it. And if I don't show it to you and I keep telling you that it's there, you might come to believe me, but actually I don't. And belief comes with doubt. And so, well, maybe he's got this glass of wine and maybe he doesn't. Well, I'm going to believe him because he's been truthful all the way along, but I don't really know. There's no doubt. I have zero doubt. And the knowledge of experience is very different than the knowledge you get from a book. So you read about what it is to have a heart attack. Okay, I know what it is to have a heart attack until you have one. And then it's like, oh no, I didn't have any idea it was like this. I had it, it was like this entirely different. Knowledge, knowing God, knowing the Father, knowing the Mother, knowing the parent, knowing the divine love that is entirely different than head knowledge or belief. It's unshakable. I have been unshakable since the day I came back. I'm not, I don't have a conviction of this. It is reality for me. And it's not something that's in my past. It's something that's living with me now. I feel this now. I always feel this always in the presence of the now. And it is, I think that the best example is, I was not afraid. I've never been afraid to die. I've been in dangerous situations. I've been held at gunpoint. I've been shot at. I've been threatened by bad people. I nearly had a boating accident, and my body was afraid during this accident. But then when I thought, oh, what's the worst thing that could happen to me? Oh, I could die. Then I became completely calm. I'm like, oh, well, that's okay. And then I go back to my level head again. And when I was dying, from the heart attack, it was a day of joy for me, and it confirmed for me what I and my wife and my friends what I've been telling them is that I am not afraid to die. I have zero fear about that. And most of the people that I've helped die, with the exception of the very elderly or those who've gone through long cancer, who've accepted their situation, they don't know what's on the other side, but they're not afraid to go anymore because they know they're going. They don't put that off and, don't look at it, put it in a closet, shut the door and turn your back on it. The difference between knowledge and belief is as vast as the difference between a cup of water and the ocean. I know the ocean is real. I've swum in it, and I've lived my life the way that I have as a result.
Yes, that I understand perfectly what you're saying, and it's beautiful knowing. I wish it on everyone. Again, two different ways. I know about the Creator, and I haven't experienced it as you, because I know I will whenever I pass from this reality.
You will.
So, and for example, my father, he's 79, he's still with us, and he's right now a little bit afraid of dying because he knows he's up there in age. And one time I was telling Dad, don't be afraid, just enjoy your life every day in the moment. And there's some people that you have to explain it, that not being afraid of dying is actually loving your life. Yeah. It's not the opposite, okay? It's not that I know some people have died in very unfortunate situations, taking pictures on their mountains, and they lose their balance and they die. And they say, why they are doing that when they're not afraid of dying? That's another thing. Not being afraid of dying is actually loving your life and living your life as if every day is going to be the last one. I always tell people when they, different theories and conspiracy theories, that there's a meteorite coming and a extinction level event coming soon. And if it's coming, it's coming.
Yeah, what are you going to do?
It's coming, it's coming. Enjoy your life today. Live like you're going to die tonight. Okay? So don't have a bucket list. Just go through the bucket list. Do whatever. I'm not saying be negligent. Quit your job or anything like that. What I'm saying is enjoy it. For example, you don't enjoy your job, look for another job. Okay? You have a problem with someone, hey, with friend, look, there are other people around. You don't have to be stuck in this. There are many things you control. And live your life, not always planning for the future. Plan for the moment. Live today. That, for me, is not being afraid of dying. So one day, death is going to come, and it's a passing, as you say.
Yeah.
Literally, he passed. Yes, when they say he passed away. Yes, he passed away. But I've been, unfortunately, to many wakes lately, and yes, also during COVID era, and I know people that passed there. And for me, is the being that passed is somewhere else, and they say it's in a much better place. Yes, it's us that were left behind that we suffer, and I wish that it was not that event here on Earth, that we kind of always want more with someone that has passed. So in my shows, always at the end, I'm very insistent in this. I say, hey, good Monday, Friday, enjoy with family and friends. You haven't called your mom in a while, you haven't called your dad in a while, you have this friend you haven't spoken in a year. Pick up the phone today and try. Maybe they don't want to talk back to you, they're upset for something. You try. But let's enjoy each other, let's enjoy life. So when we pass, it's more a celebration than a traumatic event. Okay. And I do believe, Peter, that in some other realities that were more spirit and less body, death is going to become a celebration. Okay. We're going to have the maturity to understand, okay, I'm leaving, I'm going somewhere else, I'm going to transcend, but everyone's going to be happy for you. I cannot explain it, but it's going to be like that. Right now, when someone passes, it also looks at your own mortality. And for example, it's a friend, same age, oh my God, heart attack, maybe, and you start feeling like chest pains, and it's a whole very difficult process. And I wish everyone will be like you and I, that I think, as you say, we understand the process. And yes, I'm gonna be afraid the day I die physically, as you say, but I'm gonna be at peace. I don't know if it makes sense.
Well, because you can be afraid of the pain, and the peace will come.
Yes.
And you're right. Everybody's going to find out the moment that they die. And you talked about somebody taking a picture and slipping and falling, and everybody asks, why? Well, nobody stays here. Everybody leaves. And people not only face their own mortality when someone they know or someone they love dies, they're bereft of their presence. They're grieving the loss, the emptiness of their life, and which is completely understandable. It's an aspect of love. Grief is an aspect of love, but it's sort of also a little selfish. Like my sister's birthday was this week. She would have been 70, but she died in 2007, and I miss her. And I know I miss her. I know she's well. She's come to my mom and my dad, and I know she's well because I was there. But I still, well, I miss her, and so I have this grief for her, even though I know she's well, and I know that my grief for her, like I would bring her back a little bit if I could. And that's a little selfish of me because she's in this bliss place. She's in heaven. She's probably by now incarnated again. It's okay to grieve. It's okay to die. It's better even.
Yes, and I understand. The only person in my case that has passed that I really miss is an uncle. He was like a second father to me, and I understand. I miss him from time to time. And yes, I see what you're saying, that it's a selfish sentiment in a way, a little bit selfish. It's with a good intention, but
Yes,
it's
it
selfish
is.
because then it's like a father that doesn't want the child to become an adult and leave the house, something like that. Okay, so he's 20 something, and I wish you could stay with me forever. No, they have to transcend also. They have to go and enjoy their life. Okay, and that's also loving is letting go in a way.
Yes.
In a way, when you truly love someone, you also have to be ready to let go when it's time. And I notice in other ways, especially lately, I see people a little bit more smiling, and there's just a minute of applauses instead of silence, and they're having funny stories about the person that has passed. And that to me it's a little bit, some will say, well, it's about crying and always with the sad face. No, it's a change I'm seeing, I'm noticing, that saying, hey, we know he's better, he or she is better, and we're happy. We're happy for the time we had him or her, and for me, it's this change I'm seeing in humanity, that we're figuring things out. We're figuring things out unconsciously, because this is not something we're gathering from somewhere. No one is teaching us this. This is coming to us. Peter, we have gone like for an hour. So do you have anything you would like to say in closing?
Trust the love that you have in your life and nurture it. It'll come back to you. The more you love, the more love you get. And it's the only treasure that you really carry across with you too. So love matters a lot, more than we know here.
Yes, and if you don't mind, I'll add a little bit to that I believe we're just pure love. So it's I have a little outro on all my videos, it's 2 minutes, and I was inspired one day and I built it and I attach it to every video, and it's going to be at the end of this video as well. And I say that, for example, rage, fear, hate, envy, all of these things, we invent them. That's what I think. We invent them. They come through our egoic mind. And if we clear our minds and open our hearts and we fill ourselves with love, then you understand why violence and being afraid and hating someone for their color of their skin or their ethnicity, or they're from a certain country, how silly it becomes when you are full of love. And that's our mission. I'm completely sure our mission is to become beacons of love and guidance, not fixing everyone's lives, Okay, I'll do that for you. That's also the controlling father. Okay, no,
Mhm.
guide, suggest. Okay, you do it yourself. I'll help you, but you have to do it because we are this beautiful creation. I don't understand the people that say that the creator is just energy without that. I understand doesn't have human feelings. That's I understand, but it's just pure love. Pure love. Pure love. So thank you very much, Peter. I really enjoyed the chat. I don't know if you mind that I mentioned that well about your website and you
Oh,
believe you
please.
have books and that. I'm gonna put everything on the video notes, by the way, for everyone listening. So if you wanna reach out and know about Peter's work and everything, I'm gonna put your website and all the information you give me. I'm gonna put it there. But briefly, if you would like to just explain, you have a website, peterpanagor.love, I believe it is. I'm gonna put the exact link on the video notes, and I believe you're also gonna be related to a movie soon, something like that. And you have books, I believe, right?
Mhm.
So yes,
And I do counseling. I help people who've had spiritually transformative experiences integrate in the world.
okay. And you do that in your area only, or you do it also
No,
online?
on Zoom. Do it on Zoom.
Okay, perfectly. So everyone that is interested, I'm gonna put out there Pete's information, and I look forward to the movie. Please let me know when, and we'll certainly would like to watch it for sure. Thank you very much, Peter. I want to say something. Thank you for giving me the chance, okay? Because I'm a small channel. This is a hobby for me. I'm not looking for anything in particular. And I reach out to some people that say, hey, you're maybe not worth my time, okay? Because you're too small. And really, I loved it when you said you were gonna do it. And thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you
Thank
for the opportunity, Alex. Thank you.
Thank you. So as always, to everyone watching, if you could stay for the last 2 minutes of the show, this is my message to you. And thank you very much. Thank you, Peter. Thanks. Thank you for making it to this part of the video. This is my favorite part. This is where I suggest to you that you discover yourself. You are not what you have been groomed to believe. You're this incredible being without limits that has eternal life, amazing strength, infinite wisdom, and a big, beautiful heart. All your limits are always self-imposed. Your best version in this reality is inside you. Your only mission on this life is to become a beacon of love and guidance. This version is ready to be discovered today. How do you discover yourself? The discovery process is a personal one. No one can do it for you. Dedicate 5 minutes a day to talk to yourself and the universe. Request to be connected and ask, who am I? Where do I come from? You will start getting signs, breadcrumbs, and signals. You will notice how your notions about those realities start disappearing. No more hierarchies, no more competition, no more complaining, no more depending on others. Discovering yourself equals to breaking your matrix. Your self-imposed limits will fall, and you will be ready to serve humanity and help break this spell and deception on us. But you must be patient to allow others to wake up at their time through their own free will. That will be really soon, you will see, and that will start a new world. As you work towards your best version, you will notice how all emotions don't serve you anymore. Hate, fear, rage, pride, loss, envy, violence, justice, true violence, judgment of others, and other emotions will disappear from your mind and heart. You will understand those emotions serve only the evildoers and are not you. Please try to be understanding of others that don't think or feel like you. Everyone has a process. No one is right or wrong. We're all just different. Don't be concerned about being right, ever. Don't allow pride preventing you from touching things up with family and friends. It is very important you enjoy this life with your loved ones. Put in the work to patch things up and leave it to others to decide. Please relax and enjoy life. When everyone breaks their own matrix, humanity through our community consciousness will break the final spell. The new world will start and everything will gradually fall. Governments, hierarchies, and the medical and financial system will go from scarcity to abundance. Thank you very much for watching. Please share this episode. If you have any comments or suggestions, please use the comment section below. For private questions, conversations, and if you'd like to appear on the show, please email me at hey@thealexshow.tv. Thank you again. Please don't forget to visit our website www.thealexshow.tv. By giving me your time, you honor me. Have a very, very, very